Hello, my name is Mr. White. This is my very first vodcast. This is Lesson 1, Part 1. Today's lesson will be over the North Africa and Southwest Asia's physical geography. When we began studying geography at the beginning of the year, we kind of broke that term geography into two parts, geography. And we determined that graphy means the study of, and geo meaning earth, and the people that live on it. So we combine the term geography with physical geography, and we come up with a unique way of studying different people and places on our planet. Today we're going to be discussing North Africa and Southwest Asia's physical geography. Some of the essential questions that I'd like you to be able to answer by the time we finish this lesson is, what is meant by the term of geography? I kind of described that in the previous slide. Geo, earth, graphy, study. It's the study of earth and its people. And how does the physical environment in which people live affect how people live in a given area? Is there water around? Is there vegetation around? Is there a way to grow food? Is there animals that could be used for food? Is there transportation avenues that can be used on the water? These are some of the questions we'll answer about North Africa and Southwest Asia. First, when we talk about the physical land features of Northern Africa and Southwest Asia, we're talking about three major mountain ranges. A, the Atlas Mountains in Morocco and Northern Africa, which are right on the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. The Taurus Mountains in Turkey, which is a part of Southwest Asia. The Zagros Mountains in Iran, which is also part of Southwest Asia. In this slide here, you see the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Ocean as they lay right up next to the Atlas Mountains in Northern Africa. We also see the Northern African country of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Also notice here, we'll talk about this gigantic desert, the largest dry desert in the world, the Sahara Desert, in a later slide. I've also included a picture of the Atlas Mountains, probably not what you'd think, being bordered by an ocean and a desert on the south side. Notice these mountains are pretty tall, snow-covered. Snow-covered Atlas Mountains, but on the back side, the very hot and dry Sahara Desert. Next, I'd like to talk about the climate of Northern Africa and Southwest Asia. And that's also a part of geography, studying about the weather and what is it like in certain areas of the world, and how do people are able to cope with different climates and temperatures, lots of rainfall or very little rainfall. The most common climates in this particular area that we're studying today are deserts. Deserts are very, very arid areas that receive very little rainfall, and semi-arid lands which grow very little grass and vegetation, but not quite considered deserts. The Sahara Desert covers most of Northern Africa, and it is the world's largest dry desert. Very little rainfall falls in the Sahara, and very little animals and population live there. The Rub al-Khali is located in the Arabian Peninsula. Another name for this is simply the Arabian Desert. In this particular map, you can see I have put an oval around the particular area that we're talking about in this presentation, Northern Africa and Southwest Asia. Notice the desert areas indicated by the yellow shading. Next, here's another map in which the major deserts of the world are labeled. We have number 5, which is the Sahara Desert, and number 6, which is the Arabian Desert. The Sahara Desert is the world's largest dry desert in the world. It has very little water, and water is a valuable resource. You need water to drink, to grow food, to raise animals, and to bathe in and sanitize other things. Realizing that if an area has very little water, it's very hard for civilization to thrive there. But in the desert, there are areas called oases. And oases are areas in the desert in which vegetation can grow because water is near the surface or on the surface. Maybe a natural spring is busted up through the desert. And in that particular area, in that particular instances, there will be vegetation, grass, and trees that grow. Meaning nomadic caravans that travel across the Sahara Desert use these oases as stopping points or pit stops to water their camels as they trek across the Great Sahara Desert. Another physical land feature is a wadi, and it's a dry riverbed in a desert that fills up when it rains. You can consider a wadi like a gigantic big ditch. Here's a picture of an oasis I've included. Notice the water here on the surface, but also behind it sand and sand in the foreground. Very hot and dry in this particular area, but the water on the surface allows for vegetation and certain plants to grow. And here's a picture of a wadi. Notice that if it ever rained, the water would trickle down the sides of these small hills and run off into this basin here, which is a wadi. You can identify the wadi by the light covering alluvial soil that's left behind when the rainwater rushes by. The whole process in northern Africa and Southwest Asia of the deserts getting bigger and bigger, the expansion of arid conditions into non-arid land, that means real dry area into somewhat dry area, basically deserts getting bigger, is called desertification. Basically, the Sahara Desert in northern Africa is getting larger and larger due to many different conditions. Desertification is caused by human and natural conditions. Long droughts and long periods in which it does not rain will cause vegetation to die. However, the nomadic caravans that herd sheep along this area here, also the sheep eat the grass, leaving the area barren. Thus, once a soil does not have grass to hold it together, it will dry up and blow away. Some of the major water features in Southwest Asia and Northern Africa that we'll be talking about in this unit are the Nile River in Egypt. The Nile River is the world's largest river, and it is famous for its yearly flooding and fertile soil that lie along its banks. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Iraq are the same way. It has a yearly flooding cycle also. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers lie in what is now present-day Iraq. And many of you probably know that our country has had armed forces in Iraq for quite some time. And the Jordan River, on the border of Jordan and Israel. And many of you people are probably familiar with Israel, as it is the home to the Jewish nation. This area known where the Tigris and Euphrates are in Iraq is called the Fertile Crescent, as indicated in this particular slide. Notice the shape here. It's shaped just like a crescent roll that you would find in a bakery. That is why they call it the Fertile Crescent. Due to the yearly flooding in these particular rivers, the Tigris, the Euphrates, and the Nile, pictured over here on the left, is why they call this particular area the Fertile Crescent. Here we see a picture of the Jordan River. We see it lies along the eastern bank of Israel and the western bank of Jordan. As indicated right here, the Jordan River connects the Sea of Galilee in the north to the Dead Sea in the south. The Jordan River is also famous in Christian belief because it is the river that Jesus Christ is believed to be baptized in. Here's a picture of the Jordan River in eastern Israel. It's not very large, but notice this is a semi-arid land, not quite a desert. There's a few trees, few bushes, and some grass, but there's barely enough water flowing here to sustain vegetation along its banks. There are other strategic waterways in Southwest Asia. These strategic waterways are narrow bodies of water that are important for trade or defense. One of these strategic waterways is called the Bosporus and the Dardanelles, and they connect the Black Sea in the north of Southwest Asia to the Mediterranean Sea in the southwestern portion, shall I say. Istanbul is an important city because it is located right on these straits and controls this important trade route. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf with the Arabian Sea. We've also heard of the Persian Gulf. That is where the staging area for many of our armed forces when we invaded Iraq. It is a very hotly contested piece of real estate. It's a very important waterway as 75% of the world's oil is transported from the Persian Gulf to the world market through the Strait of Hormuz. And here's a picture of the Strait of Hormuz. Notice here is Iran to the north, and the United Arab Emirates in the south, and Oman right here at the tip of the peninsula. This strait is only less than 100 miles across from this point to this point. Very important waterways. The oil tankers would move out of the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz into the Arabian Sea, through the Gulf of Oman. Here's another picture of the Persian Gulf, which is an important waterway in Southwest Asia, and the Strait of Hormuz here. Notice you see Iran, Kuwait, this is Iraq, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Oman, all important countries, all very rich in oil as a natural resource. And the last major waterway that I'd like to talk about in this lesson is the Red Sea. And it is connected by the Suez Canal to the Mediterranean Sea. The Suez does not have locks like the Panama Canal because the Suez Canal is level. The Panama Canal is higher on the Atlantic side as it is the Pacific side. So as the ships move in, they kind of move and lock down, and kind of reduce the elevation from going from east to west. The St. Lawrence Seaway is also like this. And here's a picture of the Red Sea. Right here. Notice that it is bordered by the northern African countries of Egypt and Sudan. And on the west by Saudi Arabia and Yemen. The Suez Canal, though not marked on this particular map, is right here and it runs here to here and connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean Sea, which is in the north. That concludes our lesson on the first part of the physical features. I hope you've remembered our essential questions and know that the desert conditions of northern Africa and Southwest Asia make it very difficult for population to thrive. And the water is the most valuable resource that the people in this region have, and their life depends on it. Thank you.